Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. We are in the middle of ledge season, and because of that, I'm getting a lot of questions from viewers regarding different ledge baits and the ones that I like to prefer. So I figured I would just do a video to kind of talk about the different ledge baits that I'll utilize. And these will hold up anywhere from down south to up north. Right now, you're talking about having a lot of fish that are going to be set up on some deep ledges. And just to clarify, a lot of people think of a ledge as simply like a Tennessee River ledge where you've got a sharp drop off with a lot of current flow over the top. For sure that's a ledge, but at the same time, if you're fishing natural lakes, say up in the North Country, a ledge is just going to be a steep break line that, drops off. You don't necessarily have to have natural current that's flowing over the top. And these baits will hold up very well in both situations. And the key here is the ledge gives the bass a good place to push forage species. So that sharp wall, whether you have current or not, allows the bass to corral the fish, and that's one of the reasons they really like to use them, and they're really good places to fish. Now, if you happen to be on a lake that's got actual current flow through it, that just makes the ledge even better because it's pushing fresh water, it's pushing the bait to the bass, and then they're going to use that ledge, that steep drop off, to corral those bait fish and to feed. So because of that, you got to keep in mind that the ledges are really good locations for a lot of your roaming bait fish, for the bass. So if you're talking about catching fish on shad, whether you're down south or maybe you're up north and you're talking about alewife or cisco, those fish are much more roaming fish. So the bass will literally go out, corral them, push them into these break lines, and use those to feed. So because of that, a lot of the choices of your baits are going to be bait fish imitating baits. That's not necessarily all of the baits, but those will be some of your best baits. So let me dive right into these baits that I really like to use, kind of break down where and how I like to use them, just give you a pretty good background as to why and how I'll use each of these. So let's just start with the first one. So again, if we're talking about imitating bait fish, one of the best baits to really break down some of your drop-offs is a crankbait, your deeper diving crankbaits. Now, I want you also to keep in mind, a lot of people assume a ledge is really deep, like 20, 30 foot of water. Ledges can be a drop-off from 3 feet to 6 feet, and it can still be out in the middle of the lake, depending on how that lake sets up. But these ledges don't necessarily have to be really, really deep. A lot of times your best ledges are going to be from like they top out at say 8 feet and drop down into 20 feet. So because of that, I want you to keep in mind these bait choices can vary based on size to match the depth that you're fishing. But one of your best baits at breaking down ledges are going to be your crankbaits. So this is a Berkley Dime 15, one of my favorite crankbaits going right now. They make them from a size 4 all the way down to deeper into that 20-foot range, so you can use a crankbait to fish shallow or deep. But ultimately here, the reason the crankbait's so good is because it allows you to get your bait down to the depth that you need to, bang off the cover, and it generates a lot of really good reaction strikes. One tip, anytime you're fishing a crankbait on ledges, do not leave a spot without speed cranking it. As fast as you can reel it, bang it off the bottom, rip the rod tip up. Those are little things that will trigger a lot of reaction strikes from fish that may be sitting there and don't want to bite a normal retrieve crankbait. Give a few casts with a really fast speed retrieve. So a crankbait, absolute must anytime you're fishing ledges. Another one, in my opinion, that's an absolute must, is a Swimbait. So I like to throw a Swimbait in that 6-inch range. Generally, you're talking about a 3/4 ounce head, which is what's inside of this bait right now. It's the core tackle tush head that I've got in there. Cast it out, let it hit the bottom, slow retrieve, kill it, let it fall back to the bottom, slow retrieve, kill it. It's a really good way to entice a lot of those fish that are looking for an easy meal. And a Swimbait is one of the best baits at doing that. This is the Berkley unrigged coal shad, one of my favorites, the 6-inch size. So if you're going to move on from that, another one that I really like to throw is a hair jig. This is the Picasso Special FX hair jig. Hair jigs are really efficient baits to use on ledges because they fall fast. You can cast it out there, let it drop to the bottom, sweep your rod, burn the retrieve back, kill it. You're basically allowing that bait to take off, fall back, take off, fall back, and you maintain bottom contact really well. This is one of those baits that can generate strikes when some of the other baits don't do it. I don't know why, but it's a very lifelike looking bait that sometimes the fish just have a really hard time denying. I absolutely love to fish a hair jig. Really easy bait to fish, and when they bite it, you generally have them hooked really well. It's a fun way to fish. And then another one that I love to fish anytime you're talking about fishing deep ledges, and this is a little bit more unusual, are really heavy vibrating jigs. This is the 1 1/4 jackhammer, Z-Man jackhammer. I've got a Berkley Power Stinger on the back. I will fish this really similar to how I'll fish this. I will throw it out, let it fall fast to the bottom, and then I burn it and kill it. So maybe I reel it 10 feet and then let it crash to the bottom. Burn it, kill it, burn it, kill it. You'll get some of your biggest bites going on this guy. We know how good a vibrating jig is at generating bites from especially better than average size fish. Well, this is a way to get the same vibrating jig just down a lot deeper. But don't sleep on that technique. Another one that I like to throw around too, if you know there's a bunch of fish around, your bigger spoons. This is a nickel spoon. This is actually the mini size. They come in a lot of different sizes. I personally like the mini size quite a bit. A spoon, really good bait at generating some of your biggest bites. Now, if I'm fishing down south where I know I've got gizzard shad, I'll throw some of your bigger spoons. If I'm fishing up north where I've got, say, a lot of smallmouth that are feeding on alewife, not to say alewife and Cisco don't get this big, but I'll tend to downsize more to a classic 3/4 ounce spoon or a 1 ounce spoon that's more in that 5-inch range. I just get much better hookups with a smaller spoon, especially if I'm around smallmouth, than I do largemouth. And it's already a bait that I think has some hookup issues, but it is really good at generating fish that don't want to hit anything else. So if I've got a spot that's got a bunch of fish sitting on the ledge, I'm definitely going to throw that before I leave the spot. Now, to go around to kind of counter all of these shad-based things, I also really like to fish bottom baits, like dragging baits. One of those is a football jig. This is one of my favorite ones. This is the Tungsten Picasso one with a little 3-inch Berkley Pit Boss on the back. I'm a big fan of the black and blue with a little chartreuse in it. I love the tungsten for fishing the ledges because a lot of times you make a cast that's 100 feet long, you're fishing 25 feet of water, but the tungsten allows you to maintain really good feel of the bottom. So when you hit that little sweet spot, that little shell bed, or you come across that stump, you feel it much better than you would with a lead football jig head. And they just generate a lot of good bites, and there's a lot of times where the fish aren't necessarily keen and on shad. Like I feel like a lot of times you have really good spots, but the bass don't fire up until you have a lot of shad that come around. When the shad or the bait fish aren't there, that's when my bottom baits seem to be good. If I were to bring some of these, say, shad imitating baits through it, but the bass aren't actively feeding on shad, they're generally going to be more willing to hit a bottom bait like this guy than they will some of the shad imitating baits. So I don't ever like to leave a spot without having thrown a bottom bait as well as a swimming bait, a bait fish imitator. And then last but not least, I really like to throw a ribbon tail worm. And this could be fished either on a shaky head, a heavy shaky head, or it could be fished on a Carolina rig. Again, both of these are slow presentations, much more finessey when you're talking about fishing a ledge. You can also fish them on a drop shot, another good way to do it, but it's just a presentation or a bait that allows you to, get a bigger size worm a lot of times. And now you can do this. This is a 7-inch. You can fish all the way up to a 15 or 16-inch worm if you want. The reality is you want to be able to bring a worm through those areas a lot of times. And if it's on a drop shot, a shaky head, or a Carolina rig, generally you can't go wrong. I'm a big fan of the power worm, whether it's the 7-inch or the 10-inch. Those are generally my go-tos when fishing ledges. But again, it's all about utilizing those techniques to kind of feel where you're at. If you know you're in the sweet spot because you feel that little gravel patch, you feel that little shell patch, those presentations allow you to keep the bait right there in the strike zone, because that's generally where your bites are going to be. But these are kind of my main go-tos. There's a handful of other baits that I'll generally have rigged and ready to go if I need to. But for the most part, if you don't catch them on these, you might as well just pick up and go to another spot, because these really cover the gamut really well. I would say not only are they successful for me, but they've withstood the test of time for most ledge fishermen. When you look at tournaments where major tournaments that have been won ledge fishing, generally these are the winning baits. So hopefully this answers the questions that I've been getting lately regarding ledge fishing baits. If you've got some others that you want to throw in the comment section, please share that with the rest of us. I'd love to hear from you guys as well. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. And stay tuned. We'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.